Stuck in traffic, working out, away from your computer? Listen to Red Pill Philosophy on the go on your smartphone using the free Red Pill Philosophy app. Click the link below to learn more.
Hello, Red Pill Philosophy audience. Thank you for tuning in. Quick note before we get this crazy conversation started. The following podcast, talk, discussion, whatever the hell you want to call it, is available audio only format, so you can listen to it through the Red Pill Philosophy app. That's a free phone app that you can download for free. Just click the link in the info section below. And the app itself will give you a phone app which you can download for free and plug in your headphones on the go in traffic, working out. If you're not by your computer, pop the headphones in, listen to the audio only. You basically Red Pill Philosophy on the go. So, that being said, let's get this going. You know, I mean, it's called Red Pill Philosophy for a reason, isn't it? It's the red pill. I mean, in the Matrix, when you took the red pill, it was the most intense, hardcore shit you ever did. Neo took the red pill, and well, let's just say within a few minutes, he was vomiting white clam chowder-looking puke all over the deck of the Nebuchadnezzar. And you know, because his whole worldview, his whole perception of reality literally got flipped upside down by a black dude wielding a red pill and a blue pill. And the red pill is about awakening. The red pill is about having your nice little belief system shattered, shaken, and literally imploded. Why? Because empowerment can be found through enlightenment. You know what they say, knowledge is power. But if you have knowledge that's false, if you filled your mind with a bunch of assumptions and belief systems that aren't accurate, well, what's the outcome? Well, it's the opposite of empowerment. Knowledge is power, ignorance is weakness. And of course, that's the distinction to make. Because if ignorance is weakness, what does that say about all the false belief systems, assumptions, ideas you have that just aren't right? So within, you know, this is not blue pill philosophy, this is red pill philosophy. This is about questioning your paradigm, shattering your belief systems, and transcending into the horizon of a new, more accurate, empowering view of life. So some of you guys have been I've kind of stirred up a little bit of controversy lately talking about Breatharianism, which is this idea that you don't have to eat, you don't even have to drink water in order to survive, in order to go through life in a healthy, empowered, totally nourished way. Which all seems like a contradiction, right? How is that possible? How can you not eat and not drink and yet survive totally healthy? Now, we're not saying, oh yeah, you can do it for 2 weeks, but you'll be totally crippled. No. We're saying that you don't have to eat or drink and you will be totally healthy and sustained. Now, of course, that sounds far-fetched. And I will admit that I am not 100% fully convinced by this Breatharian stuff. I am still very skeptical. Although I see all the signs of credibility, like multiple people who claim to do it, countless interviews cross-checked and cross-referenced, along with certain logical points that make it totally possible in my mind that it would be possible to not eat or drink, primarily because when you breathe, that's a form of energy intake. Right now I'm walking down the streets of Miami barefoot as I do this discussion. I got sun pounding my skin in the early morning. That's a form of energy. We're getting energy from many different sources, and you know, nowadays the primary energy source that we rely on, that we think we rely on, which of course if you think you need it, that usually translates to you actually do need it. Placebo effect is well documented. The mind is a powerful tool. If you think something will have an effect on you, it will. Because that's just the way it works. I don't know why. It's because consciousness and the subjective component of reality plays an important role in how things play out. It's just a fact. I mean, science, mainstream science will admit this, let alone any alternative viewpoints. So, you know, as long as you think you need food to survive, well, yeah, you can be guaranteed that your body's going to start withering and feeling like crap. The mind is a powerful thing. I mean, sometimes, look, I'll give you an example. I've kind of had a fear of food poisoning for a long time. Because one time I ate like KFC, like a few years ago, and I had like the most horrific case of food poisoning on the face of the planet. And you know, the outcome was I was puking like a freaking dog. I couldn't even hold down. Ever since then, I've kind of had a bit of a phobia of food poisoning, to the point where after I eat a meal, sometimes I start to panic and wonder and worry if what I ate was somehow poison. And then guess what happens? Every time I worry about it, I start to get nauseous. I start to get cold and clammy. My hands start to shake every single damn time. Again, the point is that the power of the mind, just through a simple phobia, can literally manifest physical symptoms associated with illnesses and disease. And of course, the placebo effect plays a huge role in that. You know, you give a cancer patient a sugar pill, tell them it's a cure, bam, cancer's gone. There was no actual cure in terms of biology and matter and physical matter reality. It was simply the mind, the subjective. The subjective is incredibly powerful. And I think, honestly, in a society that is overall disempowered, where we look up to government to save us, where we look up to an external God to save us, the fact that we don't look to ourselves to save ourselves, we don't look to the power of the subjective element in reality, isn't too hard to believe. Everything we do is the externalization of empowerment. Everything. Worshipping government, the externalization of power. Worshipping a religion or a god, the externalization of power. The subjective element, which is reflected in the placebo effect, it's reflected in the power of thought, the power of the subjective mind. All of these things reflect subjective personal empowerment. Whereas to the contrary, things like government or a god or worshiping a certain idol or celebrity, those are all reflections of objectifying empowerment, where you take the power out of your own hands and you put it into the hands of some external entity that you hope you can trust, but for the most part, most probably doesn't give a fuck about you and will murder you if it gets the chance to. So we live in a world of disempowerment, and it's reflected in so many societal institutions, religion, government, etc. Total disempowerment at the subjective level. We've lost total connection with our own empowerment as an individual. Listen, I did a podcast not too long ago titled, "Without Confidence, There Can Be No Genius." And basically what I said was that, you know, one thing school doesn't teach you is confidence. One thing school doesn't teach you is personal self-belief in yourself. Yeah, they'll have a little self-esteem class once in a while, but a self-esteem class in a system, a school system, that fundamentally is the opposite of self-esteem is a total contradiction and usually doesn't really work. So, yeah, we basically live in a world where we've disregarded the potency and power of the individual and your own internal capacity just through your thinking and your consciousness and your subjective element to change and improve your reality. And Breatharianism ties in perfectly to this. But if you notice the title of this discussion, though I may have changed it, so it might not be it, but the title I was thinking for this is The Garden of Eden. Now, we've all heard of the Garden of Eden, but I'm doing a little play on the word. Eden, instead of E-D-E-N, like the Garden of Eden, I'm calling it the Garden of Eatin, like E-A-T-I-N. You know, like the word eating. When you eat food, you're eating. I was eating food. Eden, E-D-E-N, Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden, like eating food. Now, why do I do a play on that? Well, I have a little interesting theory, and this could be total bullshit, but I thought it's really fascinating to share anyways. And I'll get back into Breatharianism and the whole subjective element and how it all ties in a moment. So, the Garden of Eden. You know, some people have theorized that the Garden of Eden isn't a mythical place, but is actually right here on Earth. That the Garden of Eden was basically heaven on earth. And sometimes, you know, I theorize and I wonder, what if we can return to the Garden of Eden, but the Garden of Eden is a state of mind, a state of consciousness more than anything else. And in order to get back to heaven on earth, to a state of consciousness, to the Garden of Eden, we have to change our consciousness first and foremost. You know, in the Garden of Eden tale, what happened? Eve was convinced by the serpent to take a bite from an apple of the tree of knowledge, if I recall correctly. But God, who was roaming the fucking Garden of Eden, said, no, you're not supposed to do that. You cannot eat that fruit. Now, presumably, although I'm not sure if eating was normal in the Garden of Eden prior to the point that the fruit was eaten. Eden, get it? The Garden of Eden, like eating food, get, okay, cool. I love you, all right. So, it makes you wonder, what if the true downfall of Adam and Eve, the true fall of man, as they call it in the Bible, what if the fall of man began when we began to eat? Now you see where this ties into Breatharianism. The Garden of Eden, if you want to return to the Garden of Eden, you first have to stop eating. Okay, I think you guys get the fucking play on the words. So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I've said it before when I was doing the last Breatharian video that I did. One of the things I kept talking about was how I hate being human. I hate the biological processes. I hate that we're heaping, you know, heaps of flesh, kind of walking around in a pending decay, waiting for an inevitable death. I hate that we have to eat all the time. I definitely hate that we have to shit, and all these biological processes that are pretty gross. And that's a really weird way of looking at the world, isn't it? Because if you are human, and you're inherently a human being, and you can't change that you're a human being, why would you ever choose to be disgusted by it? Seems kind of like stupid, right? But, you know, what if there was a time in this reality, long ago, where being a human being was far less primitive and guttural and visceral than it is now? What if there was a time where not eating was normal? What if there was a time when, you know, not being so emotionally and literally physically dependent on food to survive was the norm? And what if the fall of man was when we became so dissatisfied with ourselves and the state of our consciousness that we decided to get gratification and excitement and pleasure from eating food? And hey, when Eve bit from the apple and Adam bit from the apple, biblically that's called the fall of man. And I think there's a lot of interesting metaphorical ideas, although I'm not going to say the Bible is right, because I don't like the Bible, pretty much, especially not the bureaucracy attached to it by the religious organizations. I do think it's very interesting how the Garden of Eden was like a state of mind, a state of existence, a state of consciousness, you know, presumably a long, long time ago, where you were basically living on a heaven on earth. And what if, in the Garden of Eden, the fall of man began when we started eating? When we started eating. Interesting little play on words there. But the fundamental idea persists in either case, whether or not the Bible is right, whether or not the parallels here are accurate. It's a really cool way of looking at it. And I think that's really the essence of Breatharianism for me. You know, a lot of people are very closed-minded. A lot of people like clinging to their disempowerment. I personally think that being physically and emotionally dependent on food is a form of disempowerment. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. That sounds like disempowering to me. And some people like their disempowerment. You know, if I could become a god, I would want to become a god. You know, if there was a way to literally just become a total spirit deity, Lord God, and transcend the primitive, fleshy, human, mortal coil I'm wrapped in, I would totally fucking do it. Which I guess is why I like Breatharianism, isn't it? I guess it's why I like Breatharianism. Because what better way to become a god on earth? When I say God, I don't mean like the narcissistic God. Like, yeah, I'm a god, I'm Hitler, let's take over the world. Nah. I mean like, I'm a god, but so is everyone else. We all just have to realize it and live an ultimate, unrelenting, cosmic, fucking rainbow dust. That sounded kind of gay. Just full blast, searing, illuminated, enlightened glory. Just total glory always. And it's not exclusive to me. It's not exclusive to you. It's actually exclusive and all-inclusive to everybody. That's what I mean by being a god. So Breatharianism is like the closest thing to that. It's like, oh, well, I don't have to eat. I don't have to fucking drink water. Fuck, I may not even have to breathe. See, all of this goes against the mainstream science's materialist view of reality. I mean, talk about one of the most disempowering worldviews. I mean, you want to say religion is disempowering? I agree. But so is mainstream materialist science. Now, I'm not saying science, I'm saying mainstream materialist science, which is the view that our consciousness is a byproduct of matter and that we are essentially slaves to a physical world that we have no part in manipulating or controlling. That we are at the whim of the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, the laws of physics, and that we are bound by certain rules we can't break. I mean, that is the essence of disempowerment. But the difference is that, you know, science just presumes, oh yeah, mainstream materialist science just presumes, yeah, well, you know, we can't control the laws of physics, they're just there. No one asks where they came from. No one asks what force enforces the laws of physics. Like, you know, in a causality-based world, where according to mainstream materialist science, everything must have an explanation and a cause and a mechanistic understanding. But they don't care about the question, where did the laws of physics come from? They don't ask that question. Physicists aren't asking that question. They just presume, oh, the laws of physics are just there by default, permanently. You can't overcome it. You can't work your way around it. They're just there by default. And we just got to live with it forever. Total disempowerment. It's basically saying there are cosmic universal rules. Notice the word rules. Etymologically related to ruler. All rules that you choose to obey reflects your weakness, reflects your disempowerment. I don't give a fuck if they're God's 10 commandments or if they're the fucking 5 to 7 major fundamental laws of the universe. A law, a rule, is a limitation on your potential. I'm talking like Morpheus here, bitches. This is not a game. All right, I'm serious. I'm serious about breaking the laws of physics. This is not a joke. All right, this is Morpheus shit. This is the Matrix shit. I'm literally talking about taking the fucking red pill so that you can defy gravity, learn jujitsu in fucking 2 minutes, and fucking, you know, jump high as hell between 2 buildings and make it to the other fucking side using nothing but the power of your mind. As Morpheus tells Neo in the jumping program, jumping training protocol, right before Morpheus jumps to the other building, he says, free your mind. And Morpheus goes, whoosh, and he jumps. What I'm trying to say, guys, is that freeing your mind, taking the red pill, includes questioning the laws of physics, the laws of the universe, essentially what mainstream materialist science calls the laws of nature, the laws of the universe. I'm not content with just saying, oh look, gravity, speed of light limitation, and velocity, force, acceleration, etc. All these motion-based laws that really are the foundation of the modern mainstream materialist science viewpoint of reality. I'm not content with just saying, oh, that's what it is, that's how it is. I'm not content with not questioning, okay? One of my t-shirts says question everything on them. All right, question everything. I'm serious. I question everything. I destroy all dogma to the best of my abilities. I'm not interested in just, oh, look, well, we got rid of religious dogma. We still have a lot of dogma in the form of the laws of physics, which are all basically limitations in place that we don't know why they're there. We just assume, oh, those limitations must be. I'm not content with just leaving those there, not questioning them. Not content with that. So I know this is crazy, guys. I was raised just like you. Mainstream materialist science view of the world, that we are just heaps of matter walking around in a world bound by and imprisoned by certain laws and laws of physics and laws of nature. But I realized, you know, when I was a kid, you know, a very common habit of children is to ask the question why. And when I was a kid, I would ask these questions. When I was young, early, you know, elementary school, like no more later than 3rd grade, when I was in grade school before 3rd grade, I remember asking these questions. I would ask, what's on the other side of the universe, Dad? I would ask, you know, fundamental questions. I would basically ask the question, why? You know, it's funny, Louis C.K. did a skit making fun of how kids ask the question, why so much? And, you know, he talks about how kids will just ask why over and over again. And it's fucking hilarious because Louis C.K. is like, he goes crazy because a kid asks why so many times that that Louis C.K. in response to the kid's question has to literally like deconstruct reality just to explain it to the kid. Why does it rain? And then Louis C.K. is like, oh, because of condensation. And the kid goes, why? And he's like, oh, well, because, you know, it just didn't rain today because there wasn't this. The kid goes, why? I don't know, because God didn't create. He just gets to the fundamental core of how reality is constructed. Because that's what kids want to know. You know, you're born into a world with a bright, curious, open mind. You want to understand it. You want to know what's going on. You want to understand it. It's the most obvious thing. You know? Why wouldn't you want to understand it? Knowledge is how you get through life. It's how you understand the world and make choices in accordance with what you know. Kids naturally are curious and ask the question why, but most parents just give up halfway through and just say, listen, I don't know, or listen, Jesus did it, or listen, shut up, the laws of physics and the laws of nature. There's just no questioning beyond that. The laws of physics are a form of dogma. The laws of the universe are a form of dogma imposed onto the minds of men, women, and children, limiting their curiosity, their willingness to question, and thus limiting how people interpret the world and thus navigate through it. The laws of physics are a dogma. They are a dogma imposed upon the mind of man. And of course, mainstream materialist science, which is a religion. You know, a religion in essence is an institution or organization or group that seeks to quiet dissent in order to maintain dogma. And that's what mainstream materialist science does. The dogma of mainstream materialist science are the laws of the universe that none dare question. We just have to assume they're there, even though by the very logic of science, the logic of mainstream materialist science, all things that exist must have a cause and mechanistic explanation. But when you ask, well, what's the mechanistic causal explanation for the laws of physics? You're an idiot, you're a nut job, ignore the question, don't seek answers, because the presumption that the laws of physics are eternal and immutable and, unchanging is the core of almost all modern mainstream scientific advancements, except for quantum physics, of course. With quantum physics, that's the very opposite. Quantum physics goes against all of these presumptions. It goes against all of these presumptions. And of course, the outcome is, well, quantum physics basically says none of that shit exists. None of those laws exist. They're all pretty much altered and affected by the subjective component, which is what I was referring to earlier, which is essential in understanding and probably ultimately implementing Breatharianism. Of course, I'm not an expert on Breatharianism, but I know enough of the fundamentals involved to question it. So, that's really at the core here. That's really at the core here. It's a matter of destroying all dogma. And dogma exists in various forms. It doesn't just exist in religion. It exists in the religion of modern mainstream materialist science, which of course, it is a religion. Because it seeks to A, quiet any dissent that questions a dogma. That dogma being the laws of physics, the laws of the universe. And it quiets dissent by A, you're not intellectual enough. Obviously, if you're questioning the mainstream scientific consensus, all the smart people with their corporate degrees, clearly you're not smart. How could you be smart if you're going against what all the smart people with official degrees are saying? They got 2 initials after their name. They must be smarter. Even though, no lesson taught in a school textbook ever originated in a school textbook. Newsflash, no lesson taught in a school textbook ever originated in a school textbook. It originates in the mind and then is written down in textbooks for later generations to regurgitate and memorize and get little degrees for. Congratulations! Your degree for the most part implies that you memorized somebody else's intellectual epiphanies, which they came up with in their minds, not through a fucking textbook sitting in a school. Does that mean you can't go to school, learn what previous people pioneered, and then come up with your own stuff? Of course you can. But the point is that all cutting-edge new ideas originate in the mind and then are written down in textbooks. So intellect is not a regurgitation. Intellect is not a memorization. Intellect is an intuitive capacity to think outside the box into the new paradigm. Every single person, every single smart person who's worshipped in textbooks, is worshipped in history books, they are praised not for their ability to regurgitate what everybody already knew, but they are praised for their ability to think outside the box and shatter the current belief system into a new paradigm. Every single one. Newton, Galileo, Einstein, all these people, we praise them for their ability to shatter the paradigm, because true intelligence, what we truly respect, is a person's ability to think creatively, to think newly, to think with innovation. Because innovation, thinking newly, brings us closer to ultimate truth. Ultimate truth is true empowerment. Understand? This is red pill philosophy, bitches. This ain't no blue pill philosophy. This ain't no fucking mainstream materialist scientific podcast. This is the motherfucking red pill, brought to you by this crazy ass motherfucker you've chosen to listen to thus far. I don't want to toot my own horn, but, I genuinely just want to understand what's going on with the world. Like, I just genuinely do. I just want to. I want to get it. I want to figure out this fucking thing called reality. And because I genuinely want to figure it out, all right, I will naturally move in that direction. Most people don't want to figure it out. Half the fucking intellectuals with their degrees, all right, who set the current tone of what we can and cannot think about, most of those people aren't interested in the truth. They're interested in the status quo of current intellectual dogma, which is how they can get their ego boost, their money, and their fame. They're more interested in that than they are interested in ultimate truth. Because if they were truly interested in ultimate truth, for example, like the mainstream materialist scientists, the Richard Dawkins, the Lawrence Crosses of the world, if they were truly interested in ultimate truth and not just in maintaining their Twitter followers and their fucking bank account levels, they would question the laws of physics, because by their own requirements of how a material world works, there has to be a causal mechanistic explanation. And that's what mainstream science says is required, yet simultaneously doesn't require it when it comes to the very laws of physics themselves. They just are divine, unchanging, unavoidable facts of reality for eternity, and we must submit to them. Do not question them. Which is, of course, the antithesis of what true science should be. Notice how I keep saying mainstream materialist science. Why do I say that? Because it's not science itself that's the problem. Science is simply open-minded skepticism and demanding evidence. I'm all for that. But mainstream materialist science, which has fallen for the intuitive deception that because the physical world feels physical to us, we must be bound by a physical world, physical being material, they've turned the seemingly intuitive physical world into a religion that you cannot question, which is why I specifically am criticizing mainstream materialist science. Not science itself, but mainstream materialist science, which is the belief that we live in a purely material world of matter, that binds us for eternity, and they are unchanging. Total worship of some externalized laws as if they're a god. The 10 Commandments, the 4 fundamental laws of the universe. All this worship. Ooh, yeah. Fucking glass all over the floor. Woo! Gotta be careful when you're walking barefoot everywhere. Step on one of these motherfuckers. Alright. So, some drunken dickbag threw a fucking Bacardi liquor bottle across the sidewalk. What a dickbag. Tired of dickbags. I love saying the word dickbags. It's like, you fucking dickbag. Shut the fuck up, dickbag. That's my favorite word. If you follow some of my comments online in YouTube comment sections and Twitter and Facebook, you probably see me use the word dickbag a lot. Because hey man, when you're a fucking dickbag, you're a fucking dickbag. Fucking dickbag. Such a fucking dickbag. Dickbag. What a fucking dickbag. Dickbag, idiot. Fucking dickbag. Love that word. So, you know, when mainstream materialist science is exposed as a religion with its own dogmas and limitations on what the mind can and cannot question, you begin to realize that the inherent flaws in this idea that we live in a purely material, matter-based physical world really open the floodgates of possibility. And one of those possibilities, in my opinion, is Breatharianism. You see, most people can't even begin to question or even consider whether or not Breatharianism is possible, because by default, their religious belief in the mainstream materialist science view of the world, that we live in a purely physical world, that matter rules all, that matter is the standard of reality that we are inevitably and eternally bound to and enslaved by. Most people can't question Breatharianism because they're wrapped up in the mainstream materialist science religion. You understand? So when you're raised in a society that says mainstream materialist science is the ultimate truth, we live in a purely physical world and we are bound by certain rules, laws, and processes, what you begin to realize is that how could you even question, you know, things like matter itself? How could you question physical reality? You can't. How dare you? How could you? Of course we have to eat to live. We're biological heaps of matter in a biological world of matter, and we just have to deal with it. And again, back to the placebo effect. If you believe something is that way, your body will follow suit. The power of the mind is even scientifically documented. The power of the subjective element is scientifically admitted. Of course, the deeper implications are still kind of ignored because no one wants to look there. The mainstream materialist science don't want to look at the implications of the subjective component in reality. The subjective really is the soul. It's the spirit, it's consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It's that inner world from which all flavor, taste, interpretation, preferences, values, purpose, all these juicy kind of emotion-connected, subjective elements are wrapped up into. It's the essence of disempowerment. Mainstream materialist science is the essence of disempowerment, because it says that all the things you care about, like love, appreciation, connection, why, purpose, excitement, the colors of life, are little accidents of a purely material physical world. The very death of empowerment, the very death of realizing that your personal subjective view of the world is crucial. So in many ways, mainstream materialist science is like the divide and conquer. Mainstream materialist science, which is, okay, how about this? This is crucial right here. I'm having this fucking crazy paradigm shift. Get ready for it, yo. Mainstream materialist science versus religion, you know, like God and theology and religion's Christianity. Putting those two against each other as if they're any fundamentally different is no different than Republican versus Democrat. You know, the Republican versus Democrat is just an illusion to divide and conquer the people, to get them arguing over or with each other so they don't reconnect and realize the ultimate truth of politics. Well, mainstream materialist science versus fucking religion and theology is another divide and conquer tactic, delusion, that pits people against each other, distracts them from the true ultimate truth, and disempowers people and disallows them from truly experiencing and connecting to the ultimate facts of reality. Because when you think about the connections between mainstream materialist science and theological religions, both of them fundamentally are telling you almost the same thing in one regard, and that is that your experience of reality is secondary to something else. To something else. With religion and theology, Your experience of reality is secondary to God. God has the ultimate objective perspective. God is the divine, be-all, end-all of reality. And with science, you are told that matter is fundamental to reality. Your personal subjective experience is secondary to reality. And of course, it causes us to live in like a dead world, a world of dead matter without purpose, opinion, color, value, taste, interpretation. All these things are disregarded in a purely material world. The very flavor of life that comes from your subjective experience is murdered out of you by a belief that a purely material world, absent of purpose, subjective components, experience, taste, opinion, etc. Fuck, man, this is fucking huge. These motherfucking assholes, man. Oh my God, I'm just feeling it right now. Literally right now, I'm feeling my subjective divinity rushing back to me. Because I've literally lived my whole life believing in a purely material world. That matter, the objective, the external world of atoms, bouncing around mindlessly in a mechanistic, maze labyrinth of the cosmos, which is what the mainstream materialist science view is. I've lived that. And when you live that, when you put the external matter world on a pedestal over your own subjective soul, spiritual connection, interpretation, a subjective element, when you put the objective world of matter on a pedestal, you lose your interpretation, you lose your divinity, you lose your flavorful ability to interpret it and judge life and have opinions and standards and purpose. Because hey, all those things are irrelevant. So what's your purpose, your little, all that's nonsense, man. Put that aside, all right? All that matters is the objective world of physical matter, which even though, it's touted as 100% true and ultimate, in reality, the physical objective world is just an approximation. I don't know if you guys knew that, but all mathematics is nothing more than an approximation, all right? We're taught as if math is like this ultimate, fucking empirical, impeccable, 100% pure, consistent, divine, ultimate, always true kind of like of stuff. We think of physics that way, we think of math that way. It turns out that all mathematical measurements are actually approximations. Because, for example, say if you get a ruler and you measure a wall, you want to measure how tall a wall is, well, you can get a good approximation. Oh, the wall is 8 feet tall. But if you really wanted to get an approximate measure, wouldn't you have to measure the little contours of the wall, the little bumps on the wall, the little shape, the tiny little distinctions on the surface of the wall itself? It's not purely smooth. Nothing is purely smooth. So if you actually sat there and you measured every little contour of the wall, you still wouldn't have a 100% accurate measurement. It would still be an approximation. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll keep measuring. So then you get a microscope and you start measuring every single atom and molecule that's bouncing around, constantly shifting, never actually stationary. Well, how the fuck would you even measure that? How would you measure atoms of the atoms and molecules of the wall itself? The atoms and molecules are always moving around. It would be pretty fucking hard to get a 100% accurate measurement. Now, let's say there was a way to actually accurately measure all the movements of the fucking molecules, to take that into consideration in your ultimate measurement of this wall. Even then, if you're talking about the quantum level, the double slit experiment, even fundamental points of matter, the most basic points of matter, we're talking about photons here, even those are literally affected by the subjective interpretation component of reality. The double slit experiment, if you haven't heard of it, Google it, it's crazy. The double slit experiment. The idea that the observer, the subjective element, your soul, your spirit, your internal. Oh shit, this is nuts. This is fucking nuts. I'm literally having a paradigm shift right here as I speak. This is fucking blowing my head off. God damn. Even that plays a role. And I guess that's the implication of quantum physics, isn't it? The implication of quantum physics, the implication of the double slit experiment, is that the objective world of matter isn't singular and exclusive and the ultimate fundamental measure of reality. To the contrary, the double slit experiment proves and implies that the subjective element, the fact that you are here and alive from a subjective, personal, opinionated, interpreting, personal viewpoint, that is just as fundamental and instrumental into reality. And of course, that's what religion and science, that's what religion and mainstream materialist science both deceive you on. Because again, religion, theological religions tell you that your personal experience is secondary to a God, and God, of course, is an objective kind of standard, ultimate standard that is of more accuracy, it's more truthful, it's better, it's above and beyond, it's primary to your little subjective. Serve God, God's will, God's way, right? And science, similarly to theological religion, mainstream materialist science tells you the same thing. It tells you that objective matter, that the objective world is primary, above and beyond, totally infallible, and your little subjective opinions and flavors and interpretations are secondary, they are irrelevant, they are not important. They simply don't have the same value. They are little, okay, cute little opinions, have fun. When if anything, the objective and the subjective are just as instrumental and fundamental as each other, and quite possibly the subjective is everything. Because hey, ultimately your life, ladies and gentlemen, individuals listening to the Red Pill Podcast, you've literally taken a red pill through your ears by listening to this. Congratulations. I thought that was only possible in the movies. I thought it was only possible by ingesting a red pill. Apparently not. You can pop in headphones, listen to Red Pill Philosophy, and literally have your fucking paradigm shattered. Whew. Wow, this was intense. I'm gonna have to change the title, because this went from fucking a talk on Breatharianism, for fuck's sake, to a total shattering of the fucking false paradigm of objective versus subjective, where the objective is placed on a pedestal. That is the essence of disempowerment. Government similarly. Government is worship of the objective. It's worship of something outside of you that has grander authority, power. It's all there, bro. Government, religion, mainstream materialist science are three fundamental institutions and organizations and groups of ideas and people that are literally taking part in the murdering and deception of who you truly are. Think about it. Everything that you ever experienced in life is all just you. That's the illusion. The illusion is that there's something outside of you that you can outsource your consciousness to. The reality is what I just said, which is all you can ever experience in life is yourself. Your own experiences, your own subjective. And even when you objectify, let's say you hear in the news, newsflash, 20 people died in a car accident due to a snowstorm in South Chicago today. But you don't live anywhere near that car crash. But your mind, through conceptualization, imagines that scenario, imagines what it must be like, that car crash. But although we tend to think that when we conceptualize something, that it's almost like that's an objective kind of thing, like it's actually outside of us, even your conceptualizations, even what you think is objective, like the laws of physics and matter. Yeah, I know all the laws of physics. Look how I know so much about these objective things. Even your knowing of objective things is still subjective. Everything and all you can do is subjective experience. You can't do anything else. Disempowered people worship the objective. Disempowered people worship the objective world. When you're disempowered and you don't have faith and trust in yourself, you're subjective, you flee to the objective. Which is why most people who are like masters of fucking philosophy and fucking math and physics, they tend to be like scared, cowardly, weak people. It's true. They tend to be. because you're fleeing your subjective. You can't even bear the pressure of your own experience, so you run off to these theories and textbooks and words and definitions and the laws of physics, and people run off to religion as well. You know, that's why I do more than just philosophize. That's why I do pranks every now and again. That's why I try to go out and fucking interview strangers and shit. It's not enough to just mental masturbate. You have to experience life through the vehicle of yourself. Which, of course, that's the essence of red pill philosophy, and that's the fucking essence of this whole red pill idea. Popularized largely through the Matrix. The red pill. The essence of the movie The Matrix, the whole goddamn point of it is self-empowerment. Awakening to your greatness, which is, of course, the fucking slogan for red pill philosophy. Awaken to your greatness. That's the fucking essence of the Matrix film when you think about it. It's Neo awakening from the system of imprisonment that makes him a weak cog. You know, he works at that corporate slave job. He awakens to it and he becomes great as a result. He takes the red pill, awakens, and then he begins his transformation to greatness. It's hard to become great if you don't even understand how you're being deceived. Which is why I think you have to awaken before you can become great. Because as long as you're deceived, you're going to have false ideas of what it means to be great. You're going to think that great means being a good citizen, a good taxpayer, you know, being patriotic, worshiping your country, worshiping your government. You're going to think all these false things is greatness, when in reality it's not greatness. Greatness is, probably the best way to describe it is subjective enlightenment and empowerment. Awakening to your greatness. I call it awaken to your greatness. Wow, this conversation went deep as hell. I might have to split it up just to, because it started off as a conversation about Breatharianism and it became a fucking conversation about fucking, you know, the illusion of the objective. The delusion of the objective. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought that was intense. And I guess as a brief closure on Breatharianism, it looks like I'm just about ready to interview Kirby the Breatharian. He's a pretty popular Breatharian guy. I'm kind of back and forth right now, so hopefully I'll get to interview him, ask him cool questions. But yeah, the Breatharian thing it's not that hard to believe when you overcome the dogma of a material world. When you overcome the dogma of a purely material world, the religion of mainstream materialist science, when you overcome the dogma of fucking theological religion, you begin to awaken to your greatness. You begin to realize that most of the limitations in place are just that, limitations. They are not immutable, you know, eternal laws that we are slaves to. But to the contrary, that we are basically infinite beings with pretty much purely infinite potential, and any type of limitation or rule is nothing more than something imposed by a ruler, be it a mainstream materialist science ruler in the form of Richard Dawkins, the Lawrence Crosses, all these mainstream materialist scientists, or the rule of a priest, a pastor, a god, etc. And Breatharianism is really just another form of empowerment. It's another form of awakening to your greatness. Again, I'm still skeptical. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's really true. I don't know if these people are scamming or not. I don't know if they're actually secretly eating Twinkies during the fucking breaks. I don't know what they're doing. But again, open-minded skepticism. I'm open-minded so that if it's possible that I'm wrong, at least I'm open to new evidence, but I'm simultaneously skeptical so I do not become a gullible idiot. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you appreciate my work, please like, please comment below. What do you think? Also, I have new shirt designs that are available. They're actually really cool. One of them is says in case of denial, take the red pill. And it shows like a little fucking person taking a red pill. It's a really cool shirt design. I fucking love it. I have another one. It's really cool. It's got like a giant red pill, the Matrix green screen thing on it. It's really, really cool. All available at the Red Pill Philosophy store. That's redpillphilosophy.com/store. Your purchases, well, it gets you a cool fucking shirt. And hey, it makes me a little bit of profit so I could actually make a living doing this shit. If that's okay with you, okay? You know, all right? Also, you become a Red Pill Philosophy subscribing member. That is basically it's like $3 a month. It's like a few pennies a day or some shit like that. And you basically get exclusive content like these kinds of discussions I just had. I try to release two key content pieces a week for the members. You know, videos, discussions like these, etc. Sometimes I just send you free books. I wrote a book recently, The Truth About Confidence. I send all my members that for free. Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool, and you know, it supports my work. So all that wonderful shit. Honestly, if I become Breatharian, I no longer have to eat or drink water, then really my bills are going to go down significantly. So I won't really need your support as much. But thanks again, guys. Take care. Don't hesitate to share this. Tell your friends there's this crazy motherfucker who says some really intense shit that really awakens your soul. Again, thank you guys. Take care.